quarter. And the amazing number for the entire month of December, we sold over $710,000 in alcohol. I'll put it in a different light. It represents over 262,000 bottles of alcohol sold on our two little stores for the first 6 months of the fiscal year. So we believe that we can attribute some of those increases in sales, unfortunately, due to COVID, stay-home directives, and the partial or full closure of restaurants and bars, and the governor's executive orders. And one amazing fact, one more number for you. We've had $318 million in total sales for 6 months. We paid almost $1 million, $921,000 in taxes to various state and local agencies. We also contributed $14,000 to law enforcement and another $20,000 to the alcohol education program. Now, over the last several years, our actual contribution to the town has increased dramatically. That's the figures on the chart there. In 2016 to 17, we budgeted $123,000, and we gave them $210,000, 71% increase over what we budgeted. Well, that's the review budget. 2017 to 2018, $145,000 budgeted. We budgeted over $182,000. 18 to 19, $162 versus $313,000, a 93% increase a couple of years ago. Last year was $199 budgeted, and $372,000 actually given to the town as far as and again, that's 80% of the profit, because we use 10% for capital improvement in the funds you've approved and allowed us to do, and another 10% is used for future new building construction. So we have two separate accounts for that. And this year so far, well, at least this first 6 months, we gave you a budget of $225,000. And so far in 6 months, we've exceeded that. We've paid you $277,940, which includes the wonderful check I have here. So we're also continuing our efforts to improve the profits to the town. We now have instituted a program to purchase additional cases of alcohol, sometimes 30, 40 or more at a time. When those are on sale to us, and then we sell them once the sale is over and gain sometimes $2 to $3 extra a bottle in profit. We got into that program several years ago, talking to New Hanover County. And they do it extensively, and they keep terrific records on it, but they've got 8 or 9 stores. So they are saving themselves, I think in the range of millions, they get extra profit each year because of that. So finally, I'm very happy to say that in my hands, I have the second quarter profit check of $162,343.44. That is only for 3 months of profit. So we've had a very successful 6 months. Unfortunately, we know some of that increase may be attributed to the purchases made while we're under the COVID-19 pandemic. An unfortunate reality. So I'll hand this to the town manager. Sure. Any questions?
No, I can do, John, is thank you, your staff, and the employees for the hard work you've done to stay on top of this. Even through the COVID, y'all are up front. I can only imagine the number of people that come in and out of those stores. It's tremendous. And your employees to work through this pandemic and knowing they have to meet the public the way they are.
Yeah.
You know, I think myself, I speak for the board. We thank you, your commissioners, your staff, your employees. Y'all done exceeded whatever we could ever dream of happening. And it's happening at a time that we need it. And for what everything's going on.
I hope we can keep up this amount of sales and the profit we give you. Keep that thing going, even after the pandemic is over. That's what we're concerned about. Everyone goes back to drinking and dining in the bars and restaurants. Our sales will probably go down, but we hope we'll stay pretty close to this.
And like I just thank you, just tell everybody on behalf of the town, me and the commission, the staff, and everybody, we thank y'all for the hard work.
We'll let them know.
And you personally too, stay on top of everything, and keeping us informed, and no matter what crisis has happened, you've been on top of it.
Yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
can't jump over that amount of money coming into the town taxes. So, I know, about town manager staff.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
If there's no more comments, we'll move on to item seven. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, skip one. Okay, 681, ABC board vacancy. I think, where's that up? My town manager, March. That's where we're in,
Yes,
March,
Mr.
February and March.
Mr. Knox and Mr. Trexler. And the closing date for the vacancy will be February 17th.
So that'll be the deadline submission will be February 17th. Okay. So we'll put that out there. If any of you know, I want to encourage anybody to put in the application. Please speak with them. We're always looking for good people. And we'll go from there. Any questions?
Mr. Trexler, is he gonna reapply?
Excuse me?
Mr. Trexler gonna reapply?
Well, my question was, are both being advertised?
Yes.
I have not spoken to Mr. Trexler about his position. I'm not positive, even knows it's up in March. If you scrolled up to Mr. Knotts, I don't know if he's interested in coming back.
I've spoken with Mr. Trexler and he is going to decide in the next couple of weeks whether.
If you're gonna do that, we'll see. If you know somebody wants to apply those, please talk with them. Like I said, what day will we start advertising?
We'll start advertising tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, we'll see how many applications we get. Look forward to that. So we appreciate what y'all do. Okay, now we'll move on to item 7. There's no more comment. 7A, update on the Brunswick River Walk project. Under 1, upcoming event. We won't have any until we have our Founder's Day.
Yes, and the Parks and Rec Board and I are discussing maybe in COVID-19, we'll still be having a normal Founder's Day. We would have some elements that would be virtual, such as some historical, sessions or arts and crafts sessions through Zoom, where the citizens could log in and participate that way. They will bring you a formal report at the next meeting.
I think we're gonna have, all y'all keep it pretty up to date, because of, things we have every day coming in, together and talking. There's still a lot of unknown. Even when everybody gets the vaccine and shots, it's still way down the road before I think we're gonna see many restrictions lifted. I do notice, at least here in North Carolina, we are opening schools up more. That process has started, going around some of the local restaurants and businesses. I think that's, I think we're opening up about, we got about 50% capacity pretty much. So at least things are opening up some. I know some states, they still have major problems. I know y'all heard the increase in some of the areas, England right now, been listed in the national news, but COVID hit them really hard again. And now China, which we don't get a lot of information out of, they estimate now they probably got over 1 million people infected with some form of COVID right now. So they're really having a rough time with it. Of course, they've had a new strain of it. Some of the states are getting hit with that. Right now, I think they put out the Moderna vaccine. I hadn't heard about Pfizer yet. I just heard, matter of fact, the seed does resist the different strain. So they said it worked. So they come from some top doctors online. So hopefully we'll stick with that. We'll get more into it as we go through our meeting about how important it is to get shots. And,
No, I mean, I just echo what the mayor said, everything he said was right on point. The hospitals are rolling out the Pfizer vaccine just because that's negative. It's such a cold storage, it's like you're in Antarctica's warmer than you have to keep that temperature of the Pfizer vaccine. The super cold storage. We had over Regional Medical Center, we vaccinated over 20,000 people since we started. Just really proud of the work that we're doing, just to try to, help again, put this behind us slowly, sure.
I think we go on and, here in Brunswick County, there's some issues coming up, and I heard it through some of the other mayors and communications, so I sent out a text to all the mayors here in the county, then we got the county, we'll have a Zoom meeting to find out why there's so many issues about getting able to get the shot. But what we found out is the hospital, some of the hospitals in the county on two separate wavelengths back to Raleigh. There was no communication. So one didn't know what the other one was doing. So now that's supposed to be all changed. No, it's supposed to be online, but what a lot of people are doing, instead of going on the line, they make a phone call. They've been calling Novant, and some of their people have not been educated what to say. They get somebody who wants the vaccine. So then they were telling them, if you don't have something tied with the hospital or whatever, you can't get it through it. So they were wrong. So hopefully all these issues get cleared so you can get online, get you set up and get the shot. And from what I've heard today, I've heard a few complaints. They still have a little bit of issues with just working the way it should, but it's a lot better. Plus, we're supposed to be getting larger amounts of dosage coming into our county. And there was some people upset, some letters were sent to the governor's office for the simple reason they felt like it's run the county based on our age population that we have in this county, that some of the other counties, like New Hanover, we're getting a lot more volume of the dosage than our county was, and they were upset about it. That didn't vote to go. So we'll have to just wait and see how that turns out. But hopefully, the whole state, the whole country gets what we need. So I'm looking forward to that.
I want to commend our staff too, because I know that they've been getting calls and helping people get on the line and get that certified, so that's been helping too.
And that always big thing, and people do have trouble, that should be what part of what we're doing anyway. This is. Okay, we move on to 7A2, no smoking ordinance. And Commissioner Morgan, does he want to say anything on that? Commissioner Morgan, can you hear me?
I can.
Want to make any comments on the no smoking ordinance, sir?
No, I don't think anything in particular at this time. I believe Madam Town Manager was looking into some stuff for us on what we're seeing with other towns of our size, and I think just waiting to hear back on that as far as how they're approaching enforcement, that sort of thing.
Yeah. We're having issues on it, and we'll get into it, I think, in more depth coming in here. We have the ordinances, we passed some new ordinances, but we don't have a code enforcement officer right now. So the issue is on how we enforce these ordinances that we already have on the books. So it's creating some issue, we know sometimes people they're gonna smoke in the park, you got people that's gonna do it. You're gonna have people that's gonna go out and drink a beer on the pier, which don't supposed to have alcohol out there either. And we have some other ordinances. But trying to make sure before I get too much into this, I don't get past where we're going. But looking at where we're at this time, I think a lot of we can put it back when we have our budget meeting also. I think Mayor Pro Tem will speak on this some too, but we're at a point right now where basically the reality of what we got, we can't afford to hire a code enforcement officer full-time right now. It's just, we have some unknowns, the later date we can, but we're pretty solid when we get beyond some issues we got right now. But, however, we may decide to maybe hire somebody on a part-time basis. If we know we got the issues that need to be addressed. We got to have more systematic way of tracking them, keeping the records of what's going on in our computer files. If we're gonna issue a citation, if they can be, which Mayor Pro Tem has mentioned, and Town Manager about, if it's a program on a computer, I'm gonna type it in, have it printed out, and give the individual a copy of it. The enforcement side is always the tougher side, because if a person resists, then you have to evaluate how you're gonna handle it. If they refuse to pay it, we know that process. It ends up in the court. And then our fine town attorney has to go down and prosecute it. So, we hope it doesn't get to that, but, those personalities, the way I've had over all the years, there will be some that try to assist if you actually try to do the enforcement side. So, I think it's something we are gonna have to address later on. When our budget gets to a point where we can actually have it, I think, Mayor Pro Tem, y'all vote for 10 minutes, but, if we do that, I think we have some positions we need to fill way before we need a full-time code enforcement officer. I hope we get to a point where we have to have a full-time code enforcement officer, but that's a good thing. That means we're at a point in our town where we actually need it. That means we got a lot more businesses, a lot more going on. Covered. So I'm just opening the floor up to any comments.
Like the mayor said, I think one of the things we have to consider, other than whether or not we're gonna have a strict no smoking, or maybe have a designated smoking area, how do we establish the ordinance? And then that goes into a code enforcement officer, and how much that's gonna cost. Madam Manager has given us a lot of options, a part-time, a full-time, contracted person, maybe some type of deterrence by having signage up there, signage done by schools. This voting system, I think it's kind of neat, except that, I think the mayor mentioned it just people start smoking just so they can start voting.
That's just
See what it looks like. But it really boils down to whether or not we can afford it. So that really falls into the budget discussion part. We just have to actually see how our money sits and what we're gonna do. So I think your recommendation was basically to try to table it, so we kind of set it to the.
I'll leave that up, God.
Yeah.
You know, the whole time we've been looking, I know since we've got the new boards, some things we look at, we realize there is some enforcement side in our codes. We really do need to start enforcing.
So if we're looking for expenditure,
Yeah.
looking for talking.
But we gotta wait for our budget is to a point of where we can actually afford it. And, other than that, we had to find a mechanism. If you see something, if the town staff or Jim, if we see a blatant disregard for ordinance in the park, somebody's gotta say something to them. And, if we have to, we get the information from them, and we name civil citation to them. And I have to give it to them that day. And I don't think it's up to our staff, that's one thing we'll have to check on, what point do you go when a person resists? And we're definitely not gonna have no town staff get into a fight with anybody, or he's argument over it. The person refuses, you try to get the information you can, get a picture of them if you can, and then we'll go from there. Decide what to do, and, the town attorney can advise us on, so we don't step on it, but we want to make sure. I don't think most of the people that we have, we're gonna have much of issues. I think Mayor Pro Tem come up with one alternative that we should go ahead and do, and that's a better signage in the park, telling people what they can and can't do. I think some of these signs, the ones up there now, that's not bad.
I did that. No,
But we got to get a point across to individuals, and they also have to realize there is a consequence if you get written, you're gonna pay money. It's gonna be money taken out of your pocket. Well, I think the signage should maybe reflect that as a deterrent, if that's up to y'all.
One other item, Mr. Mayor, if I could, that I didn't list on the sheet is, and after discussing it with the park director, he could, a few times a month, work a different shift, you know, maybe be in the park a couple of hours on a Saturday, or be in the park in the evening, and have a presence there, and maybe that would help to deter anyone that may be smoking in the playground area. If you see someone, you can just mention it to them, you know, not get into a confrontation, or anything, just mention about ordinance, and then if they saw someone there on a regular basis more often after hours, maybe that would help.
I commend Jimmy wanting to do that, but of course Jim's overwhelmed with stuff anyway, and it detracts away from the other things that we ask him to do, so. I mean, whether or not we have a full-blown no smoking ordinance or designated smoking area, I think we're still talking about maybe looking at whether it's fiscally feasible to have a code enforcement officer, which goes back to the budget.
I think we do that, and if y'all don't have a problem with it, if we can direct staff and other town managers, we could, maybe start with some new signage, put up, to inform people better. A lot of times, just the observation, there's gyms out there, any of us out there, matter of fact, if you see somebody not obeying the rules, hey, we got phones and cameras on too. Start taking pictures of what's happening. If Jim sees it out there, he don't want to engage them, or I know Jim will say something to him, he always does, but we'll photograph of them doing it. Because later on, when they come back, they say, well, he's lying, you know how that ends up. Even in the days of law enforcement, rescue, no matter what, fires, somebody videoed it. Videos most of the time don't lie.
There's cameras in the park.
And we got cameras in the park. We might have to redesignate or put up a new one there, say at the playground in the pier. And once you get them on video, when you walk in that courtroom, if you have to go to court, they can't say much, but they're right there doing it. So there's other deterrents sometimes than just the physical part, where we've got to have somebody out there constantly watching them. And like I say, but a code enforcement officer in most towns is more than just about enforcing smoking and parking. A code enforcement officer doing a lot more than that. It doesn't matter where you got trash in the yard, the grass is too high. So when you get an overall enforcement, there's a lot of issues that reason. I halfway agree with the Mayor Pro Tem coming up there as far as if we're gonna get one, we do need a full-time officer. But right now, our budget just is not to that point, in my opinion. So hopefully we'll get there very quickly. Once we get some other things, certain issue out of the way.
Morgan's gonna.
Morgan, you got anything you want to add to it, sir? Here.
No, I was only able to hear about 80% of that, I think, and not able to see anything that was put on the screen. You know, if there were figures given as far as, you know, what costs would be, I haven't seen those yet. So, yeah, I mean, just moving forward to this point with additional signs, et cetera, is fine. I think just having some sort of game plan going forward so that we can think about how, you know, what we want to do and what we hope to do to enforce this and anything else in the future is something we just need to think about and plan for. Otherwise, we need to stop enacting ordinances that we can't enforce. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you on that, Morgan. What we're trying to hopefully address, that we will start putting up additional signage about what you can and can't do in the park. We can have, you know, Jim can still engage people if he's out there working and he sees somebody doing that, and he can tell them not to do it. But then later on, when we have our budget meeting, we get past February, we get this other civil case out of the way. And then we can take a hard look at where we stand financially and everything, what we have to spend, how our budget's going. And then we have the possibility of getting a full-time code enforcement officer. But like I say, a true code enforcement officer does have a big job. And there's a lot more than just about smoking and maybe parking the wrong way or drinking in the park. It goes everywhere from houses, buildings, yards, trash. So code enforcement officer can be a very busy individual. So we'll go with that. If y'all don't have an issue, we'll, staff to go ahead and get up some new signage in the park. And just give us a call to us if you don't mind. Madam Town Manager.
I would do that too.
Any other comments? Okay, moving on to item 3, Parks and Recreation Board vacancy. Madam Town Manager, you want to address that?
Yes, Ms. Cheryl Page, who has been on Parks and Rec Board for approximately 2 years now, is gonna have some other commitments that are gonna prevent her from serving on the board. So she is asking that you accept her resignation with a final date of March 11th. And she will still be able to volunteer at town hall as she did before, and she does have extra time, and she will still be a volunteer for the Parks and Rec Board. And we are asking you to also advertise that vacancy with a closing date of February 7th.
Any comments? If not, just go ahead and we'll go ahead and advertise for that position.
Thank you, sir.
I think the COVID, again, it has, got a lot of control over everything we do now. Our Parks and Rec Board, as far as the planning side and the stages, there's a lot of things we probably need to tweak on how that system's working now. But until we get over this COVID, basically, we're not gonna have a lot going on in the park to start with. I'm hoping by summer, when they get the full status on the vaccines getting out, the effect it's having on the people, and the feedback we get, it'll give us an opportunity to start opening our park back up to some of the events we love to have. And then maybe mechanism on how we're doing. But I'm glad with this COVID is behind us. But I just don't think it's gonna be in the short term. Any other comments on that? If not, we'll move on to 7A4, update on special events plan. Madam Town Manager, you want to address that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The final draft is the same as it was last time we saw it. We sent that final draft to the Parks and Rec Board and asked for their comments. They did not have any further comments, so we are proposing that you would adopt this, especially next time tonight, which is going to help us to begin planning for our future events in a more organized way. We're very excited about it. So we ask for your support on this item.
And then talking about resolution 21-01.
Yes, sir. And I'd also like to thank Adrian and Carla for their hard work and helping with this.
Yeah, but you that. Sorry, that's for the.
Okay, the resolution by the Belville Board of Commissioners adopting the town sponsored special events planning guidance. Whereas the town of Belville hosts multiple community events every year, and whereas the town Park and Recreation Board is responsible for organizing these events, including planning, promotion, budgeting, execution, and cleanup. And whereas to ensure a successful event, the town must follow guidelines and procedures to document vendor qualification, solidify a communication plan, confirm staff and volunteer responsibility responsibilities, follow the approved budget, and other tasks dependent on the event. And where the goal of the special events planning guidance document is to establish the guidance and procedure for the Parks and Recreation Board to follow to streamline the process of planning and implementing community events. Whereas the special events planning guidance document is designed to assist the town's Parks and Recreation Board through the stages of planning a town-sponsored event that will be both successful and safe. Now therefore be resolved that the town-sponsored special events planning guidance 2021, including appendices, is hereby officially adopted by the Board of Commissioners. Be it further resolved by the Belville Board of Commissioners that the town manager is hereby authorized to implement the town-sponsored special events planning guidance and follow such plan during special events planning. And to make some other comments on that, I think when we look at it, you know, our planning board, when they're given their time, they come in here, and I don't think there's anything wrong with giving them better guidance and holding their feet to the fire, so to say. So our events come off smoothly, we don't have issues, you know. At one time, we were, ourselves, the commissioners, the staff and everybody, we were doing the majority of the work at the events. Now we're trying to get the Parks and Rec Board to get more involved. And a big key to this, and I think we're all gonna have to start working on something, we need volunteers from the town to get people more involved in what we have. That shows our town off, shows our park off, but also to the whole area that we can open these events up to. We've got a lot of things going on, the Get-A-Gucci, I'm saying it wrong, Get-A-Gucci heritage. We've got the Tuscarora Indians. We've got a Pirates event now that still wants to be in the town. We've got a lot of things that can happen in our park. And in the future, if everything goes well, I think we're gonna have a larger venue to start attracting people in the park. We're gonna get the rest of the land that comes into the park system. We've got to have people there that don't mind, will work hard, but we need volunteers for this town. We need to find a mechanism to start finding volunteers that really want to come out and help the town, but also buy in. These are historical events, a lot of them. It's a lot of our history for this area and what's going on, and to see if we can get them interested enough to come up and start working. Because it takes manpower and woman power to run these events. There's a lot of work in them. And so I hope with staff's help and our help that we can start getting more volunteers who want to come out and assist their town for showing off these events and what we have. So, any other comment before we pass the resolution? Or
No, I think it's also a good idea because it helps, you know, the structure, but also as we do other programs, and we do them annually, you'll have something to build on instead of having a big event every single year.
okay, if there's another question, I have a motion that we pass resolution R 21-01.
Make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you for that. Any comments from staff?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 7B, update on street repairs and drainage repairs. Did I miss one? Okay, update on street repairs and drainage repairs. The main one that'll be up to, if Jeff is online or Madam Town Manager.
Yes, Mr. Judge is there, and we also wanted to just give you a small update on the pipes at the end of, drainage ditches at the end of South Old Town Line that NCDOT has gone in and kind of dug out last week. Have some pictures for you of that in just a moment. Is
Thank
Jeff ready? And then Jeff can address South Old Town Line. This is the area along South Old Town Line near Arbor Mall.
That's a lot better.
Jeff, are you ready to, kind of talk about the pipe at South Old Town Line at the end of Old Town Estates?
Yeah, and you're talking about the one at the very end of the road, right?
Both of them, if you could.
Yeah, so the first one, the area that State Utilities has been repairing, where there was a sinkhole that was found where the tornado had hit during the last hurricane. And they've repaired that area. They've completed all those repairs and patched the asphalt that had to be dug up to put in the new stormwater pipe that they installed. Everything there looked good. My only comment to Athena on that was the pipe they installed. There's actually two pipes they installed, and the short 10-foot pipe that they put in had a good bit of sediment in it that could be cleaned out, but not too big of an issue. So that's it on that particular repair. And then at the very end of South Old Town Line, and Athena, you can correct me on any of this if I get any of it wrong. There's being some repairs in that area, as I understand it, a stormwater pipe that went from the road South Old Town Line and along a property line into some backyards. That stormwater pipe is being removed and converted to a swale or a ditch. That old pipe was clogged up with tree roots and was not functional anymore. So I understand that those repairs are still being worked on.
If some of y'all have ridden down on South Old Town Line, the tornado did a lot of damage back there. And then we had a person call in, we had a sump hole right in the middle of the asphalt. That's where the tile run under the road. But when they started working on that, they found out that the tile that was in there, and it's been there since the development was built, not only did it get damaged from the storm, we had trees growing into it, and basically stored the pipe. Now, we replaced that under that, and then we found out that all that pipe that runs down there, basically a lot of it had problems being at the very end of South Old Town Line. When you do the loop, that road was flooding. But the drain pipe run on the property lines of a homeowner. And when they got down there, the pipe was just basically collapsed. The water couldn't go anywhere. And that's how it gets down to the creek. So all it was doing was building it up on the road and running through the man's backyard, down his driveway. So the town manager, Jeff, went out there and looked at it. I went out there with Jeff and I looked at it. And the property owner said he'd give us an easement, which we had to use power money to repair it. So he agreed to that. And we were able to go out there and pretty much relieve it. I went back to the last rain events we had very little puddling of water. So it stopped his yard from being flooded, bringing the water off the road, which later on would create more problems for us and repairs to the road itself. They still issued on that. Remember, when that road was taken in, we only took the asphalt in. We didn't take the rest of the easements. But because it's tied to the road, we were legally able to use the power money to repair some of that pipe because we didn't. We're still gonna have problems. The road was still gonna wash out, so we had safety concerns, which is too much. So the town administrator, Jeff, they went ahead and the staff and took care of the problem. And I hope basically that resolved a big portion of the safety issue down there. So, Jeff, I want to thank you for your work on that too.
No problem, sir. Anytime.
So, they've done a lot of work on the repairs. It took a while, but I think it's a whole lot better than what it was. A lot better. even though we're gonna have some more issues later on. So, any comments on that or any questions from anybody? Okay, we go to C, update on the 2030 vision plan. Adrian online,
Yes.
if she wants to speak. Adrian?
Yes, sir. Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we hear you well. The floor is
Wonderful. Well, as always, thank you guys for having me again at this meeting. I have a feeling we're going to be doing this every month for the foreseeable future, as we have officially launched our Vision 2030 plan. And it was last week on Thursday, we had our first meeting with the steering committee. And just before that, we sent out a press release letting the world know that we are getting started on this effort. And we had a great meeting with the steering committee. We had, I think, Athena, was it 20 people showed up for the Zoom meeting?
Yes, 22.
Yeah, we had a good number of people show up. So I feel really good about the participation. And I basically took the steering committee through the project goals. I let them know, what our focus area was going to be. And I mean that in a geographical sense. Our timeline and coordination with existing plans. We looked at the flooding areas, particularly like floodplain, and exactly where it is that we would be looking at development based on environmental constraints. And then, Robin from Greenfield, she did a great overview of the economic impact analysis. And then we talked with the steering committee about a survey that we also sent out. So, given that we've got COVID and some restrictions with exactly how we can gather public comments and public participation, we have a survey that they all have now with plenty of information to help gather some information from them as far as, where they would like to see the town of Belville be developed and where their priority areas are. And we asked them also to do a SWOT analysis of the town so we can help identify those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that's what we did with the steering committee last week. And then this week, also on Thursday, we are going to have the kickoff meeting with the stakeholder group. So the stakeholder group will be more of your private interest people that may be, developers or even utility providers, but it's going to be those that are really going to play more of a part of the actual construction of these improvements. So yeah, we're excited to get this going, and we already have our next steering committee meeting, which will be February 4th. So I'm sure I will have another update for you guys at the next meeting. And of course, if I can answer any questions, I'm happy to do so.
any comment from the commission? Adrian, we want to thank you so much for the work you've done for keeping this going and working with Athena and working with us. We know it's a challenge. We think we got a good end game once we get the ball fully rolling. And I got other information I'll give you later on with some conversation we have with somebody else that eventually will be linked to this. So, like I said, Adrian, thank you again. Adrian also come out the other day with myself and Athena when we were talking about the 2 road projects we had. Talked with Hawks Water. She's been a great asset to the town. Her knowledge and ability really helps us out a lot. We thank you a lot for that, Adrian.
Absolutely, anytime.
And so it made our path. We're talking with the HOA of Hawks Water that they've agreed pretty much. They got to finalize everything, but sign us the easement we're gonna need for the walkway. Not much of an issue. They realize what's got to happen. One of their ditches has got to be moved on the front where you go in that front entrance. That'll be part of the overall construction. But I think we're on path. We got to keep the ball rolling. Hopefully we can get some kind of schedule. I think COVID does have some effect on what we're doing with the players and getting people together. But we're still moving. That's a good thing. We're still talking. and we're getting people interested in the project. And undoubtedly it's reaching out a fairly long distance quick. So that's a good thing. So Adrian, thank you so much. Look forward to talking to you at the next meeting.
Absolutely. Thank you too.
Madam Town Manager, any comments or anything?
No, just, would like to thank everyone who participated and,
And Commissioner Long, thank you too.
yes, we sent out, I just sent you a copy of the survey that was sent out, so you can take a look at the questions and let us know if there's anything else that you'd like for us to add for the February 4th meeting.
Now, the steering committee on Thursday, it's the mayor. Who else?
The stakeholder committee, that one would be Commissioner Mailer, and some representatives from Duke Energy, AT&T, and some local developers.
You know, kind of, like I say, the ball is rolling, and, the future right now, at least as of today, looks pretty good. It's heading in the right direction. We just got to be the locomotive behind it, pushing all the cars.
We do have space for, 2 representatives from the Board of Commissioners to be there without, going into a quorum.
So, done any other questions or anything? Okay, moving on to 7D, update on coronavirus actions. And, look at, okay, we have a resolution 2102. Resolution by the Belville Board of Commissioners combating the COVID-19 pandemic. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic spreading, oh Lord, didn't get the word that got expeditionary through our nation, state, and Brunswick County and its municipality, whereas Brunswick County currently has had over 5,939 cases of people infected, with actually the current status of 87 deaths and hospitalizations are on the rise. Now, whereas across the United States and Brunswick County, families have experienced deaths of loved ones by the coronavirus over the past year. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Belville Board of Commissioners encourage the people of Belville to practice the safety measures recommended by the public health professionals, continue to take action and precautions to prevent the spread of the COVID-19, including registering for vaccinations. We encourage you to protect yourself, your loved ones, your community by observing the 3 W's. Wear a cloth face cover over your mouth and nose anytime you exit your home. Wash your hands often or use hand sanitizer when soap and water are not available. Wait to social distance yourself at least 6 feet apart from anyone outside your immediate family. Be it therefore resolved that the Board of Commissioners of the Town of Belville adopts this resolution encouraging citizens to avoid the 3 C's: crowded places, close contact settings, and confined and enclosed spaces. We urge our citizens to commit to these recommended actions to remain healthy and safe adopted this 25th day of January 2021. Any comments from the commissioners? I think it speaks for itself, and I think these are things that constantly push. I'm glad to see though that our governor has opened up certain things. We do have school openings, and I think because of what North Carolina's done and a few other states have done on the school, a lot of the other states have followed suit. And that's a good thing. So please encourage your families. Our town needs to encourage. You need to get the vaccination. Some people are still scared of it. I've had my first shot. I take the second shot February 9th. I think Commissioner Long's already had his. Has anybody else had the first one? And Commissioner Ryan's got it. So they said the second one, you do get some symptoms, so I'll wait to see when I get it. But everybody you talk with, please encourage them. And we need to stay on top of this. It is deadly. It has killed a lot of people. I think we're over 300,000 in the United States now. So, is that the current numbers? I think the state of North Carolina, based on what I got here, we've had 6,056 cases as of January 22nd, positive tests. We've had 5,706 vaccinations here in North Carolina. 11.1% of the county, 5,706 in Brunswick County. 11.1% of the county's tests are positive. The groups now that are currently getting vaccinated are groups 1 and 2, and basically that's your first responders, health, home care centers, the elderly, and it's taking that kind of process. So I think right now there's 4,572 people have recovered from the COVID. 1,377 are isolating right now in here in Brunswick County. And 20's in the hospital, and like I said, there's 87 deaths here in Brunswick County. So this is serious. We need to take it serious. If I could, there's no question, can I have a motion we accept resolution 21-02? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 8, the regular agenda, update on the draft personnel policy. Madam Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we stated at the last meeting, we were working on updating the personnel policy and making it more user-friendly. And we've been working on the first section of that. We would like for you to take a look at it, if you don't mind, and give us comments by the next meeting. The two major items that are different in this draft from our original personnel policy have to do with nepotism and also romantic workplace relationships. So if you would take a peek at those sections for us and give us some comments, we will bring back the second half of the rewrite at the February meeting.
We got a good definition for romantic issues.
Yes, sir.
I read through it and it seems to be, not to be an attorney, but it seems to be fairly straightforward and specific. My only question is, with these, are we addressing issues we've had, or are we just trying to foresee future events and take care of it?
Well, every year the School of Government has a course that comes up that is called Public Employment Law, and they kind of bring a lot of these issues, to our attention. And about 5 years ago, they began talking about the workplace romantic relationships and how they began leading to a lot of sexual harassment claims for towns. We haven't really had that problem here in Belville, but, we want to be prepared in case something does occur.
We like to stay current.
Yes.
I support being proactive. I just wanted to make sure there was nothing in there that was leading us to this.
And you never know, we may get an awesome husband and wife team and they want to work for the town in 2 separate departments. And we would certainly want to use their talents as long as they weren't supervising each other.
Yeah, I think everybody here, all of us basically know the concerns and how serious they can get. And personnel issues and policies are some of the toughest policies and things you have to deal with in the environment, no matter where it's business, government, or any other form. And a lot of times, husband and wife work for the same business, so you do have unique problems a lot of times that are rough. I have seen that happen quite a few times over my years. And it does create some major headaches in addressing them.
An example of a good example of that would be our health director at Brunswick County, David Stanley, and his wife. that also works in emergency management, but in a different department. Both are awesome.
And we have had an issue here at the town in the past that has mom and dad also got us in a lawsuit because of that type of thing. So it can happen no matter where you're at, how big you are, small you are. Like I said, personnel policy is super important. Like I say, it's constantly changing too. I think instead on top of it, updating, it should be an ongoing process because our climate changes a lot every day. So any other comments on it?
So I just want to thank Carla. She has done a great job of assisting me with working on this.
That's good. So I haven't read all of it. I have read through it. I think you've done good.
Thank you, sir.
So it is something we need to stay on top of because issues are always popping up. And we need a mechanism and guidelines on how to go through these events when they happen. Okay, if we're done on that, we'll move on down to transportation update. Basically, in your file, since I have to address that, I got a WPO meeting coming up. The best thing I can tell you, money is being released more now for projects that are basically a year behind. One of the biggest projects in the WPO now is taking really the bypass around Hampstead, which they had a lawsuit that's been settled. Now the people that's buying the right of ways are back out there doing it. So the project's going forward. There's been funds released for it. But that also means funds are being released for some of the other projects. Everything was pushed back 1 to 2 years on the current projects they had, so you can imagine what's going to happen with projects that we're going to have coming up until this COVID is over. DOT is still going through some budgeting problems on how they're financing these projects. In your packet, if you look, there's always a list that comes out of the projects that are on the books now, the projects that will be moving forward. If you look at what she's showing right now, that's the 133 multipath, which we have 2 of those projects in the WMPO. Right now, those projects are still on track. We've had the engineering done, the surveys are being done. We had to talk with the HOA to get an easement to put that in up to Rice Hope. So far, it looks like that's going to be a go. They were happy that we're doing what we're doing, but it does benefit them. This other project that comes up, which is on the DOT books, that's a wide 133 back down to where the old road exits back into their property. And there'll also be a multi-path there. So eventually that just ties everything in together. And that's a good thing, but that'll allow all our communities, and hopefully later on we'll be able to go on further. Also part of the multi-path will get into the historical path of the Gucci Cultural Heritage Corridor that we are going to be a big part of because of our riverfront and this whole area on the historical side. So staff is staying on top of it, and I appreciate them and Jeff Owen and his crew been really going to it, get all the surveys done, get all this information back to DOT, get the information back to us, our engineering group. So we're on track. We're where we need to be at this time. And hopefully when those projects start, they're going to be good for the town. It's going to be a nice look when you ride down 133 and we got a big wide path following where our communities are that they can walk down and eventually get across over 133 where they can walk over to the park safely and get kids at school down to our education pavilion safely. I think there'll be some happy people. Madam Town Manager, any comments from you on that?
No, sir, but staff did have a presentation for Commissioner Long.
Who?
Commissioner Long.
I know that with him, I just wasn't hearing all the conversation.
We wanted to thank him for everything that he's done to, keep everyone safe and healthy in Belleville and in Brunswick and Hanover County. So thank you so much from the staff.
Thank you.
Very kind.
You're one of our healthcare heroes.
Thank you. Thank you. Very kind.
Thank you, Commissioner Long. Any comment?
Continue to be honored to serve. You know, it's all of us together. I'm just a person, and we're all people together. We're focused on mission. So, thank you.
And, you know, we get on here, but this is a whole team effort between the staff and the commissioners and our people in our ABC system. All of y'all have been great to work with. It's been my pleasure to be here working with all of you. You're making things, I think this year, I see a good time for our town this year. It seems like if we keep on, pieces are coming together. And also I'll mention, I got a meeting with Mayor Bozeman Wednesday. So we're gonna sit down and try to see if we can have a good conversation. Because I still think it's important, and you sometimes in our business, you gotta set personal feelings aside and look at what's the best welfare for the town. And communications is part of that we have to have. And hopefully that'll be fruitful. We'll see where that goes. But I think I'm obligated being the mayor of this town that I sit down and see if there's any possibilities there that we can open up discussion on anything we can work together on. So I'm kind of looking forward to it one way and hope there's something there. Any other comments? If not, I will update you as far as the transportation with our next meeting. I'm basically looking it over. We're still, on the transportation side, we're really looking back a year than we are more than we're looking forward a year. We've got a lot of projects on the books that right now are not funded, still not funded. And most of those projects are not over here in Brunswick County. So we're trying to find a mechanism, I hope in the future, that we can get more projects for our side and over here because of the amount of growth we have. And we got to find a mechanism. Smaller towns have a rough time, even though there's a lot of money out there for these events. You've got to pay the upfront 100% of the money before you get reimbursed on these federal dollars, and that is tough on not just our town, but all small towns. And hopefully we can find a mechanism to resolve some of that. And that's working with our state and federal representatives to work where small towns can have more bite at the pie and get more funding for projects we need that not only benefits our town, but benefits the whole area. So hopefully that'll happen this year. The question, move on to 9, closed session under attorney consultation, North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A3. If I could I have a motion we go into closed session? All in favor? We go into closed session. I don't think we're gonna be here very long. So we'll be right back.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
See ya.
I've got it.
I've hobbled that together from the vast Leland and somebody trying to remember. More good.
Okay, can I have a motion to come back into open session? This town attorney, you won't make any comments, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay, on our meeting, we made no decisions or address any issues other than some of the legal about a developer. So, with that being, any comments from the commissioners? Staff?
I just had one piece of good news for the mayor pro tem. AT&T is gonna double our bandwidth on our Wi-Fi for the same price, so if you're okay with that, I'm fine.
Absolutely. We got that also, we're making some changes in the park reference to our lighting. We got all lights up there, so we're going to LED. Youth is being very gracious to come over. I think, basically, we're getting better lighting and it costs us less. And getting they put a light over at the pavilion, a new light there that'll have it lit up very well, inside as well as the park will be lit up a lot better. We'll see that go. So if there are other comments, can I have a motion that we adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Stand adjourned. Thank you all.